This episode is sponsored by Relogic Research. Relogic is an engineering, aerospace, and technology company dedicated to solving our nation's toughest defense problems while investing in the bright minds of Huntsville. Relogic is excited to be a part of the innovation and continued growth of the Huntsville community. Visit their website today to see what they are excited about at relogicresearch.com, and all of this information will be in the episode notes. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself, and we'll get started there?
So my name is Ashley Brown, and I am owner and operator of both locations of Tom Brown's Restaurant.
Awesome. Well, so I know that you're not originally from Huntsville. You moved here from Mississippi. Talk a little bit about what prompted the move and sort of what your background was prior to moving here in around 2018.
So in 2016, we purchased a Victorian home that was like a super popular restaurant back in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
It was a 3-story antebellum home that had been like sitting on foreclosure for 11 years, I believe.
Wow.
Holes in the roof, just destroyed. So we actually bid on it and bought it as an auction.
Wow.
And then, so we totally renovated that. Beautiful property.
And did you end up making that a restaurant itself too?
So it was originally a restaurant on the bottom, on the first floor. On the second floor, it was a bar.
Wow.
So the bar was open till 2 a.m. The restaurant was open till 10. And then, so once we got open and we got going, I mean, we had, when people heard that we were bringing DT Grinders back, we went to the original owner and was like, hey, can we use this name? It's a staple in the community. It's the big yellow house.
And this was in Meridian, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was this big yellow house on the hill. I went there when I was a senior in high school for our senior prom dinner.
So it's always been a part of your background and
Absolutely.
then in the community itself.
I had my 21st birthday there. Literally, I can remember going to karaoke there.
That's crazy.
So, actually we were looking at some old buildings downtown to do some studio suite apartments, and the realtor was like, hey, you're from here, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I got the DT Grinders keys. And I was like, oh my God.
What do I have to do to get this? What do I have? I'll do anything.
And Tom was like, seriously, Ashley. And so I was like, let's just go look at it.
Yeah.
Let's just go check it out. I haven't been in there in 20 years.
How long was it closed from when?
So the original owner had it for 18 years.
Okay.
And then it kind of switched hands through a couple of people. And then the guy lost it. And so it was empty for 11 years.
Wow.
So when I say, if you say DT Grinders in pretty much anywhere around that area, within 100-mile radius, I would say it's kind of like Connors.
Okay.
Or,
I'll have to ask my wife and her friends, because my wife went to Mississippi College in Clinton, Mississippi.
I'm sure.
And
she
so
probably,
all of her friends probably that grew up in that area probably know about it. So I'll definitely have to bring that up.
Or they probably know someone, or their parents.
Parents
probably,
enjoyed it probably.
Sure,
yes.
Yeah.
So that was sort of was that your first taste of owning a restaurant?
So I had never been in a restaurant business,
Okay.
right? So I have 25 years of screen print, embroidery, your signs.
Okay. So that was your background prior to even stepping into a restaurant.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Tom's got 25 years of real estate, buying, flipping houses, selling, holding.
A little bit different
property.
than owning a restaurant and operating that. Just a little different.
For sure.
So what was that like? How much of a learning curve was that when you first stepped into it?
A lot.
Yeah. I mean,
So I have 25 years of customer service, and I think in 25 years I may have gotten 2 3-star reviews.
Yeah.
Because if I couldn't produce the product for you at a quality that you loved, it was on me.
Yeah.
I fixed it, right?
For sure.
You either loved it and it was the cost of you, or it was the cost of me and I replaced it, fixed it, whatever. I didn't care how much it cost.
Yeah.
I was going to make you happy.
Yeah, for sure.
But restaurant is a beast.
Yeah, and in your the managing of people too. I mean, it's not just I would assume in your experience prior, you weren't necessarily, you maybe had employees, but you didn't have that level of employees.
No. I had a good team. We did a high production. I printed for pretty much every college in the state of Mississippi on production level.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big deal there, probably my last 7 years.
Okay.
And I maintained that business for a year in the restaurant once we launched it.
Just to have both as like not necessarily a safety net, but just having. I mean, it's a big jump to go in all in anyways.
Absolutely.
And having some sort of familiarity as far as like your day to day with some unfamiliarity of, hey, now I manage a restaurant with employees and bar staff and
right. So
everything.
my idea of the restaurant was, oh my God. Literally, I'm this dramatic. Oh my God, we're going to go in here. This place is going to be beautiful. We're going to do this and that and this and that. And I'm dipping.
Yeah.
Like, you run it.
Yeah.
We walk in, we go over to go back to the story. We go to the real estate and we pull up and it's just weeds like, 6 feet tall and busted windows and porch just, it's a wraparound porch and it's just.
Wow.
Garbage.
Yeah.
And we walk in the door and it's funny. I wish Tom was here. He tells the story so much better than I do. He's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this and this and this and this. And, with my ideas and your cooking and your background in the kitchen, like this would be perfect.
Yeah. And you're like, was it harder for you to see that than it was for him? Or did you, as he was talking about the expectation of what this could be, did you start to see that vision?
No,
too?
that was me saying
it was you
that.
seeing all that.
I was all in.
He was like, wait a second.
He was like, wait a minute.
Are we looking at the same thing?
Yeah, no, he just wanted to move back to California.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Because he moved from California to Mississippi.
Okay.
Because at the time my son was in 4th grade.
Okay.
And it was just one of those things where it was just like, he was so involved with my parents and I just couldn't do that to them and his dad in that situation.
So when you walked in, you saw that space of like, it's like a blank canvas. You're like, I'm ready to create everything. I can see this. I can then see people enjoying this. And your experience of you enjoying that space when it was a thing, you're like, I want to make that for the community itself.
For sure.
So you obviously get the space, you build out this whole process. What did that how did you go from capturing that first restaurant in Mississippi to then a couple years later deciding I want to uproot and come to Huntsville? How did that conversation, or where did that come about? And was Huntsville that next place, or did it just happen like you were looking at other places and Huntsville was just one of them?
No, Huntsville's a crazy story. So the area in Meridian, it just couldn't support like the level of premium food.
Yeah.
There's one restaurant that's still there called The Rustler. They've been there, I think, like 27 years. Wow. They're just a huge staple. Sims is the daughter of the owner. She's amazing. And it's a struggle, to survive when they don't have that passive income, right? So we knew we wanted to do something, but back up just a little bit. So the restaurant would book out, weekends, but weekdays would just be hit or miss. You would have so basically I like to say that was like more like probably like a bi-weekly pay location type deal.
Yeah.
So you would see an influx, throughout pay periods.
Okay.
And so, but at 9:00, buddy, let me tell you, we would sling $15,000 worth of cocktails.
Wow.
It was a club.
Okay. So it was hard to get people to sit down and enjoy like a nice dinner, but to get people after hours was just like,
oh my God,
everyone showed up.
If I could find a space to open a bar and have like people that you could trust to run it,
wow,
it's insane. But at the end of the day, we were killing ourselves because we weren't getting home till like 4 a.m. and
then doing it again the next day.
Getting up and doing it again the next day. So you're managing people in the kitchen and then you're dealing with the guests and so on and so forth. And it was just one of those things where it was just like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, Tom or I, neither one drink. I mean, I'll have a cocktail every now and then, but it's just like, I had a really bad, it was really hard for me to see someone that I knew had just gotten out of, say, rehab, right? And they're standing on the other side of my bar and they're asking me to serve them alcohol and I know their mom.
Yeah. So
that's where it really started tugging with me because it's different here because you have so many people.
Yeah.
But there, everyone.
Everyone, yeah. And there's so many people that travel to Huntsville for work and for family
sure.
and for business and for whatever. So like you could see somebody that comes into Tom Brown's today and you might not see them again. You might never see them, or they might see them in 6 months, in a year. They might come yearly because they're just here for holiday, whatever it might be. And so obviously that became a little bit too much to handle.
Too much to handle on me mentally, and then and just physically.
Yeah.
So we knew we wanted to keep the real estate because obviously it was an investment type of deal.
For sure.
So we found a restaurant to lease that. So we still own the real estate property there. And we have an Italian restaurant that's leasing. They're thriving. I mean,
Great.
They love it, Kudos to
and
them.
And I feel like for the community too, and like even for yourself, seeing that space now be something, and not be run down and not be.
Now I will say they don't take care of it like I do, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother podcast.
And I think just for like that, such a small town like that, being able to see this restaurant and being able to know that you kind of helped make this place a thing. Like people wouldn't be able to enjoy that restaurant. People wouldn't be able, the people that work there wouldn't be able to have a job if it wasn't for you being able to take that first risk and say, hey, this building, it's been empty for 11 years, is everything was falling apart. You saw this vision, you created this vision. And even though you're not necessarily there running it, you're still able to see the fruits of that labor almost.
I will say I laugh about it now. It was really hard then because Tom always tells me, don't get emotionally attached to a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Right. That was a hard pill to swallow. I never will say DT Grinders was a failure to me. I will always say that it was literally my boot camp.
Yeah.
When I say it taught me, I can remember running out of the restaurant on a Friday night when the bar drain overflowed and flooded the foyer at 7:00 in the middle of dinner rush. I ran out of the restaurant, sat in my car, and a whole panic attack. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to. I was embarrassed. I was all these things because I want it fixed like right now.
Yeah.
And Tom's like a bus tub and a wet floor sign. And I'm like, no, we got to fix it.
Yeah.
But, so all that to say, Tom, real estate, he's super research, super smart guy.
And then Huntsville came up.
So he kept saying, we started doing some research, probably not really too long, I would say, after opening DT's. We knew we wanted to do something else.
Okay.
We just didn't know what or where, right? So he kept saying, Huntsville's like Santa Clarita was, 10 years, 12 years ago. They're about to blow up. And I was like, first of all, Mississippi don't move to Alabama, okay? Like, we're not doing that. He was like, no, like, it's big. Like, they're going to be big. And so it's funny, we were getting ready Father's Day weekend or the week of Father's Day. I was like, what do you want to do for Father's Day? And he was like, oh, I want to go to Huntsville, Alabama. I'm going to book a Airbnb.
Huh.
And I was like,
okay,
here
whatever.
we go.
I thought you would just give this up. Like, I didn't think this was actually a real thing, and now you're traveling here.
Right. So I'm like, all right, it's your weekend, whatever. So we roll in, and I honestly, I was confused because it's not a concrete city, or it wasn't like apartments everywhere. Like when we drove in, like no Toyota field development. Like,
because this was 2017 probably when you were traveling here?
2018. So we did research all of 2018 on Huntsville.
And then you traveled here for Father's Day, and how was the expectation of what you thought Huntsville was going to be, and that first drive in, like was it just night and day different?
I couldn't believe that it was so green.
Really? Okay.
Because he brought us, so we came around, like we obviously came up the 565, and then we got off on Research Parkway and around by like Bridge Street, and it was, it's green. I'm like, where would you even put like a restaurant right off the interstate? Because at the time, Toyota wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, nothing was there.
No
Trash Pandas, no Town Madison.
Nothing.
It was pretty much from Research Park. I mean, really from like I don't know, Madison Boulevard or even like County Line. County Line here was nothing.
Nothing.
And it's what's wild is that's not even that long ago.
Oh, I know. So it's funny. I was like, oh my gosh, like, how would we get a restaurant? And there was that old Cracker Barrel that they had torn down. I was like, well, that property's available. You know, it's right off the interstate. So we kind of looked at that and we stayed the weekend. We ate every restaurant that was like talked about or whatever. In the meantime, you know, I just kind of joined some groups around here on Facebook.
And kind of almost engulfed yourself into the community without necessarily yet being in the community.
Absolutely. And just listen to what the women wanted.
And then, so I guess shortly after, I mean, not too long after you visiting here for Father's Day, did you actually end up making the move?
So when we visited here on Father's Day, we had been talking to Max at Mid-Cities.
Okay.
Our vision for what we wanted to bring here was the original concept was exactly what we had in Mississippi, which was like an antebellum home, you know, dead in the middle of Mid-Cities. Like, wow. We're not moving. Like, you can build this beautiful art place around us.
Yeah, and we're like the center hub almost of this creation.
Like, we're that Alabamian, you know, that just won't sell.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously a new structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they love the concept. We wanted to do, you know, a rooftop bar and, you know, bring, you know, old trees in and just like really make it feel
like it's been there forever.
For sure. And then just do like restaurant on bottom, bar on top situation, super friendly, kid friendly, out back. And in the meantime, while we were working with them and trying to get everything underway, we found Madison's location.
Mm-hmm.
So we found that space, and it actually took us probably about a month and a half to get in touch with whoever, really? You know.
Was that compared to the finding real estate and doing stuff in Meridian versus finding real estate and doing stuff in Huntsville? Was it tougher, or was it as you expected to find places, or was it a little bit tougher, a little bit easier?
Well, then, you know, when we were looking, there was a lot available. Yeah. Like, there were a lot of empty places, but the main thing was traffic. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously you want to be somewhere near Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. I mean, why do the research when they've already done it, you know?
For sure.
You know, thousands of cars pass by those locations, so they're there for a reason. So when we came up on the one in Madison, I was actually at a nail salon. He had dropped me off. I was getting my nails done, and he came and he was like, hey, I found this one. Let's go check it out. So it had a front and a side patio, or those patios weren't like closed in or anything like they are now. But so we finally got in touch with the lady that shows it, and she said, which with Tom being a real estate agent, she just gave him the key box code, and we just went in, you know. And she was like, I'm going to tell you, it does not show well. That building is sat empty for almost 3 years. And he was like, what do you mean it doesn't show well? And she was like, it's neon green. It's purple.
Oh, okay. It was hard to see the vision because there was just everything else, the noise in between.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't see a blank slate, then it's why it's sat there for 2.5 years. So when we walked in, I was like, oh, we're going to rip this out and this out and take this down. And
you immediately saw the vision.
Immediately. Well, because I had dropped ceilings. I was like, the key to signing this lease agreement is you go to Lowe's and get a 15-foot ladder, and you climb up and you push that drop ceiling and see if I can go all the way to the top. And if I can go all the way to the top, rip every bit of this down, I'll take it.
and I guess the rest is history.
The rest is history.
And you were able to kind of...
So we signed our lease on the building, and we signed on our home on a Thursday. And in the meantime, Tom had spent the whole week up here getting all of that in place.
Wow.
While I was back home packing. We had 2 U-Hauls lined up for Friday morning, and we just packed them and we pulled out on a Friday night.
There you go. And then, so, I mean, obviously, like throughout your website and throughout just the experience of going to Tom Brown's for people, I mean, design has always been a huge, how much has the design from obviously the location and the growth of the Madison location versus, you being able to then have the opportunity, I guess if we're recording this at the beginning of 2024, I mean, 2023, you opened up the Huntsville location. How does the design and where does your influence or your inspiration come when you're looking at a blank canvas and then saying, hey, here's the experience we want to give for the customer?
For sure. Main thing is we wanted same food, same quality, same customer service, obviously. Yeah. But we just wanted a different vibe, because it's funny. Guests come in back to Madison and they're like, oh, I went and tried your, South location. Food was great. It's beautiful, but this is our cheers,
Yeah.
But, you think Madison, they're like, oh, we're not driving across the bridge. What bridge?
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. I will say, so we opened Madison location. So we hit the ground running we got here on Friday. We unloaded. We hit the ground running in demo on Monday. When I say hit the ground running, I mean hit the ground running. So me, Tom, my son-in-law, and one other guy.
Just went.
We did that.
Everything.
We did that entire build out. The only thing we did not do, 4 things in that restaurant. We didn't finish the drywall because I'm not doing that. We didn't hang the air conditioner ducts.
Okay.
The hood vent and the flooring.
There's quite a bit of other things that have to happen. So you did 99%.
Yep.
What was, obviously you get this out, you build this whole thing, you bring this new concept to Madison. Was the success of the Madison location right off the bat? Immediately. Really?
So what we did was, I think it was so wild, whenever we papered the windows, they knew someone had leased it. We put brown paper over the windows, and once we got the patios, the fence railing up, it was important for us to get something outside, build that momentum.
Yeah.
We come here knowing no one.
Yeah.
So, who's Tom Brown?
Yeah. What is this? What is this concept? Never heard of this. Who is this person?
The corporate. Where are they from? Whatever. So, when we hung the chandeliers outside, it was game over.
Really?
It was just insane.
Did you expect the success of that location, the Madison location, that first grand opening, to be as good as it was? Or did the reality exceed expectation?
I still feel like I'm living someone else's life. I prayed for that.
But you just don't know. You go into, you're in a new community, a new location,
we're living on a prayer.
Yeah.
Literally. Everything we up and moved.
Yeah, everything. And it's all within a few days. You went from getting everything to then tearing out everything to then building out everything.
And then my poor little 6th grader thrown in a school from, a 2A school district where he's got 60 kids in his class to Discovery.
Yeah.
And it's
your world was turned upside down. And then the community then just is all in on you and backing you and what you're doing. And you just, which is crazy to think about. Do you think if you were to do a restaurant like Tom Brown's in Madison and you opened this year, would it be the same as what it was when you opened, or do you think the timing was super important?
Absolutely not. I think when we pulled in that day, Father's Day weekend, I like to tell people, I immediately knew that I was at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew that I was ahead of the curve, not behind the curve.
Wow.
And it's been so cool because when we were doing the build out, the master plan of Cliff's Farms, the billboard was up and it was just full of trees.
Yeah.
That whole area was just
trees. It was a forest.
Yeah. So to see that just boom.
Yeah. You can't drive from County Line to Research Park now and not see something. It's a whole different world.
I tell everybody, I tell my daughter and her husband, you can't walk on water if you don't get out of the boat.
Yeah. And so you obviously, I mean, you had a very successful restaurant in Madison, and you're killing it in Madison. The Huntsville, was Huntsville always going to be like, hey, I want to open up another location? Or when did that opportunity come? And was that in the space you have at the Hayes Farm development that's obviously now booming? My wife works at the Publix right there. Like, is that something, like, was there other locations? You're like, oh, I'm going to bring this concept downtown. I'm going to bring it to Jones Valley. I'm going to bring it, or did it just,
no.
right timing, right?
So Tom says my picker's off.
Okay.
Because I said no to Alabama. I said no to Madison. And then we're just cruising down South Parkway. And this is before anything was announced.
Yeah.
No announcements, no FBI, no Toyota, no Nissan, no Amazon, none of that stuff. And we drove through Hayes Farms, and the only lights that were on was Staples, and everything else was black.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in South Huntsville, and
I was like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah, like why? It's like a whole other town. South Huntsville is such a. I think for even now, it's obviously it's grown up, it's developed a lot more. But South Huntsville, for anyone that's listening and they're potentially new to Huntsville and haven't lived here long, if you want to see what Huntsville was potentially like, 10, 15 years ago, just driving South Huntsville. Because my neighborhood I grew up in is the exact same. That the school, everything is just,
right.
It is so, it's very nostalgic because it's just the area. But Hayes Farm is obviously developed and kind of is being that anchor for South Huntsville.
For sure.
And so you see this, you're like, okay, we got to get out of here. But now you're there.
Right.
And now you have a location.
So it's funny. So Jim Hayes he was a frequent flyer at Madison location. He was so cool. He would always come in his, royal blue suit and just so fun, bright primary color guy, And one day he just walked in. We weren't even open. He said, hey, can we sit down and chat? And Tom was like, sure. Yeah, what's up? And he was like, we want you at this development, and we want you to be an anchor. And this was 2 months after us being open. We opened in June, and we are just, we don't even know. We're at 50%.
This is 2018.
2020. So,
okay.
yeah, so we were ready to open completely, passed all inspections and everything, and then we got word that they were going to shut it down for COVID. So, which, in all honesty, a lot of bad things happened with COVID, but it was a time for us to be able to shift gears from, construction to those leaders that we needed to be. Because, I always say, if you're not 100%, you can't be your best self,
For sure.
So it did give us some rest time, some yard time, some much needed housework time. From doing construction. So when we got wind that she was going to lift in 2 weeks, so we started shuffling what food, because everyone's going to be ordering food.
Oh, 100%.
So this is
and they want to get out.
This is food to stock the restaurant.
Oh yes.
So at this point, we had not stocked the restaurant at all.
Ooh.
We had stocked the liquor, but not the food.
Wow.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get this stuff in the freshness of the food that we are wanting to offer?
The quality that you...
Yeah. What we have raved about, how are we now going to get this? Because it was not easy.
Yeah.
So we just started pushing through that, opening at 50%, meaning... I wanted everyone to feel completely safe in our space. It was their first experience to ever experience our restaurant. Opening the doors day one, June 1st. Everybody locked down on COVID, had never eaten at our restaurant.
Yeah. Whew. And then 2 months later, for having the Hayes Farm to be like, hey, you should open another one.
So, but I opted out on any to-go items. You're not gonna order to-go.
It's the experience of being there. It's what you're creating.
You're not gonna write a review on me that something's coming out of a styrofoam container.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm not going to sell you a piece of $68 fish. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. Our food doesn't travel. I don't want it to travel.
Yeah.
We could make things that travel.
But that's not the
That's not
the
what
brand.
we are.
Yeah.
That's not who we are.
Yeah.
So we caught a little bit of flack from that in the beginning with COVID because, you know, everybody was door dashing and all that stuff. And it was just like, I don't
I'll just
care.
open up with less capacity. I'll make sure we do the
50%.
best experience when you come in. And if you want to get out of the house, we're here for you.
For sure. And we'll do any protection. We'll do anything you need. You know,
yeah. And what's crazy is like you said, you had to jump into all of this, navigate this. It's already hard enough to run a restaurant. Then you add COVID into the mix. Then you start seeing the success. And then 2 months later, you got the opportunity approach to have a second location.
I said, there's no way.
There's like, why would I want to do this again? And then obviously in 2023, you build out this location at Hayes Farm. Hayes Farm is growing. They have Publix as the big shopping center in the middle. You're on the one end and you're the anchor there. It's developed greatly. How was the opening of the Huntsville location? And did it meet the same expectation did it do as well as the Madison location did as quickly, or is it still kind of?
It did jump out, but timing just was, you know, when we opened July 5th after July 4th, it's funny because I had the windows tinted, so blackout tint.
Yeah.
So we're in there working away and people are like, what is going on? They're not, nothing.
Yeah.
There's no movement.
I would ask my wife, I'd be like,
And I'm
are they
like,
open yet? Are they open yet?
People would be at the window, like literally put their lips and nose. And I'm like, don't put your face on the window. But I mean, they can't see in, you know, and we're in there just grinding.
Just building out and getting it all together.
Hours.
And so you open on July 5th. And I mean, obviously the name Tom Brown's, people now know it. You've been in business in Madison. You've been successful in Madison. You're bringing something to Huntsville. I joke, and I still joke with my parents live in South Huntsville and my grandparents. It's like the options in South Huntsville growing up is chicken, or chicken.
For sure.
And so you're bringing a concept that is not that. It's a nice restaurant, fine dining, you know, sit down. Was it hard to get the South Huntsville community to say, hey, we don't have to leave South Huntsville to go get this food. We can stay.
You know, the main thing in my mind was, is it going to hurt Madison?
Yeah.
Because you have people driving from Jones Valley and South Huntsville and, you know, if we want to go eat somewhere, if we want to go eat in Nashville, we're going to drive. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother us to do that. And I know there are tons of people like that. Mm-hmm. So that was my biggest fear was like...
You don't want to see the Madison do less because Huntsville's taking the business that Madison would have had.
Exactly. And I would say right now, we argue every night. It's like, we did this many. We did this many. We did this.
It's almost like a competition between the two.
Totally. Oh, I just took your 6 top. Yeah. Because they show up at the wrong location.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, I would say launching it was a super smooth launch only because Madison is a machine. It just goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I could literally give the servers and the kitchen crew the key and say, open this restaurant with no management, and it would run.
And was that something that was right off the bat?
Absolutely not. That was sitting up in the bed at 4:00 in the morning going, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, like
I figured out this issue that we have.
I figured it out. I finally figured it out.
So
I would say probably year 2.
It started clicking.
It just started, you know, we would move this, change this, and it's just chasing, you know, what are you feeding? Like, when are your peaks? When, you know, you know, the first year after they let us out of COVID, the first summer, no one traveled. So it was a super crazy busy summer. The next year it was a midsummer.
Yeah.
Last year was a summer. So like, is this our norm?
Yeah.
You know, going into 4 years. So June will be 4 years. So is this our new norm? And if it is, I'm totally okay with that because we're definitely quality over quantity.
For sure.
Like, I want you to come in and enjoy. If you got a reservation and we're booked out, I'm not going to walk to your table and say, hey, your hour and 30 minutes is up. I have people at the door. I'm sorry. I'll wait at the doctor's office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not going to rudely ask someone to get up or, hey, can I offer you a drink at the bar or whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I can't move them.
Yeah, and it's all back to that experience.
For sure.
It's not, like I said, it's not a grab and go. It's not a quick bite to eat. It's an experience. And people, I think that dinners are one of my favorite things. Like, I love going to a nice dinner. I love getting a bottle of wine and having a nice long dinner and being,
and it being paced out.
Yeah. And I order an appetizers. I order a salad to start. I order a soup. I have maybe have a dessert. I often don't do dessert, but I often, but like it's there. It's an option for people. And when you're creating this environment that you've created at Tom Brown's, it's not just a 30-minute meal and out. No. It's a hour and a half. It's a 2 hour. It's a big party. It's a birthday celebration. It's a graduation.
Big party. You're looking at 3.5 hours easy. Just because, how are you going to enjoy yourself?
Yeah. So this journey you've had from, getting the first restaurant in Mississippi to then moving to Huntsville to then opening the Madison location to opening the Huntsville location, did you always think you would be your own boss and that you would eventually do something like this? Or did this shift happen when you got that first one?
So I always knew that I wasn't so my parents always, worked for someone, which very successful, but I'm the only entrepreneur in my family, immediate family. And I think they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
It was, where's your stability? Where's your retirement?
For sure.
All those things,
all the boxes you check when you become an adult.
Exactly. Right. So, but it's so crazy because none of my kids work for anyone. I have literal entrepreneurs.
That's perfect.
So it's just like, but they've seen me grind all my life,
Yeah.
So I knew I would never, not that I can't work for someone, because I can work with anybody, but not that I can't do that.
The typical 9 to 5 wasn't
my
never
brain
you.
is always like, what can I create next? What
Yeah.
can I build next? What business journey can I do next? How can I make money? And it's not that I'm money hungry. I'm looking for things that make someone like myself their life easier.
Yeah.
So
I think it's finding.
I'm a service person.
Yeah, and providing value.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I think being an entrepreneur, you can do that.
For sure.
You can bounce different. I've been fortunate enough to do this as a job and have my own company since I graduated college. Like, I've obviously had careers in the job. I've had jobs in the typical thing. I worked at a pet store. I worked at a restaurant. I did those things.
Right.
And I think those are good things to do and have those
yeah.
experiences. I couldn't imagine now going in to
Working
a
a
9
9
to
to
5. I could not. And fortunately, my wife was able to say, I don't think you should go out. I think you should just continue to grow this.
For sure.
So that we, graduated college, go full time, get married all in the same month. But you might as well just jump in.
You're all in, right?
Like, you might as well jump in.
If you're not going to do it, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everyone. You're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have enough time. And you're never going to have enough space.
Is that the one piece of advice you'd give anyone listening? Or is there
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you're sitting on an idea and if you are not doing what you love, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you are not living for what you're doing, what are you doing?
Yeah. The adage I tell some people sometimes is the two things you do most in your life is you work and you sleep. So you might as well have a job you love and a great bed to sleep on.
Right.
Because if you're not going to enjoy, like, yes, there's ups and downs. When you're your own boss,
there's
my
days
goodness.
it's like, man, I don't want to do anything today.
And there's days where I will say, man, it would be so less stressful if I just got a typical job.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that because I tell everyone, I'm like, sometimes when I'm driving home, that silence, no radio, no anything. It's 10:30 at night, 11:30 at night. And I've heard my name. Hey, Ashley, can you comp this? Hey, Ashley, can you give me a military discount? Hey, Ashley, mess this up. Just all night in my ear, all night. Hey, so-and-so wants to make a reservation of this. It's just all night long in my ear. And I'm driving down the road and I'm like, what would it be like to get home at 5:30, cook dinner, and sit down and eat dinner with your husband and your child? I've never done it. Never.
Yeah.
47 years old. Hit or miss. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like, there's days where you can be like, I can do it.
I grew up, my mom, she cooked breakfast. If we were home, she cooked lunch. She had dinner ready at 6:30, ish. Don't call me out if you see this, but, we routine. I've never done that.
No.
It's, I fantasize about that sometimes.
Yeah. And
what that life would be like.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because it's hard in some elements of being your own boss, being an entrepreneur, doing that. It's hard in some cases to express that to someone who doesn't do it.
For sure.
Because unless you're doing it, you just don't understand.
Right.
And that's why I think I think it's one thing that I see in the Huntsville community is that other entrepreneurs, other business owners are very willing and able to give you advice, to have someone to talk about something. Because like at the end of the day, I don't know everything, and I don't need to know or want to know everything. I will never know everything about this business, about any business.
Absolutely not.
But there's going to be somebody that's 12 steps ahead.
You're going to pick that nugget up from them.
And they can help me, and there's also going to be someone 12 steps behind that I can help.
For sure.
So always being able to look ahead and always be able to look behind and see where you've come from and where you're going. That being said, what does the future look like for Tom Brown's? I mean, you have 2 locations. Never thought you were going to be in Huntsville. Now you have a Huntsville location. Never thought you'd move to Alabama. Now you have 2 Alabama restaurants. Is there a third? Is there another concept? Is it just kind of, let's see what now looks like. Let's see what this first year looks like at the Huntsville location, and we'll take it a day at a time.
I wish I had like a crystal ball, a
little magic 8 ball.
Yeah. We have been approached by several places to grow.
Yeah.
To expand. 3 within that South Huntsville time period, and it was just, look, we look at it. It's just there's no way.
Yeah.
We're 2 people. I mean,
there's only so much you can do.
We're 2 people, right? So we do have some things in the works. Not sure that it'll hit this year.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of moving parts to that.
For sure.
I will say I will feel way more confident when Hayes is at that machine running.
Yeah.
She's just a baby, So, she's still waking up in the middle of the night, but
the area is still growing. I mean, it's every time I drive down there, it's, there's another this, there's a new this. I mean, they have new buildings being built, new neighborhoods being built, new people moving to the area that are going to find you.
I will say this, it's wild to look at restaurant to restaurant. So you have Madison, their ribeyes, their fillets, and they are whiskey drinkers, cocktail drinkers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. South Huntsville, they are fresh fish, bison, elk, and
interesting
wine.
Oh, wow.
Wine, and wine.
Interesting. So if anyone's listening and they want to open a wine business, South Huntsville would be great.
South Huntsville's it.
Huntsville's perfect.
But yeah, so it's been really fun to kind of see, hey, this sells here really well, but it doesn't sell here.
Yeah. So our seasonal menu here can be a little different than the seasonal menu here. And I think even though obviously you have a successful restaurant in Madison, opening another restaurant, there's easy things to it, there's hard things to it, but they're both different. Even though the concepts are the same, the brand is the same, the people and the customer base and what they desire and need in a restaurant is different. And I think it's only been open, what is it, 6 months?
6 months, 7.
And so you're still learning. It's still a baby. It's still growing, and it'll look different in a few years. Obviously, we talked a lot about the 2 different locations, but if someone's listening and they want to connect with you on social media, connect with you in person, actually go to the restaurants, all that good stuff, find out more information, get a gift card, where can they find you and where are you?
So right now, I'm at Madison location every day, and Tom is at South Huntsville every day.
Wow.
So he's there because it's just super hands-on.
For sure.
Just to make sure everything is smooth. I'm there just, we're yin and yang. I'm the lover. I hug and nurture and take care of them and buy them snacks and things, and he's so they're begging me to come down there. Like, when are you coming back?
We need some love.
We need some snacks. And so he went and bought snacks and just threw them on the desk and was like, here's your snacks. And mine's all like...
all organized.
Yeah. So social media, got a super great in-house social media crew with us. And if you just send a message, she's just on
Perfect.
it. Then we have 100% response time.
and we'll have all of their links and stuff in the episode notes.
Sure.
So if anyone's listening and they want to visit their website, buy a gift card.
We are
see the
working on a
menu.
digital gift card
Perfect.
option. Right now, we do not offer that. So if they want a gift card, they can either call, I can have it ready,
Perfect.
or they can just swing by and get it. No
Perfect.
problem.
Yeah, we'll have all their information in the episode notes. But I thank you for spending the last 45 minutes or so talking a little bit about Tom Brown's, the restaurant. I'm excited for the future of what it looks like here in Huntsville. We'll have you on in a couple of years to have you talk a little bit about some of the stuff maybe we couldn't talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
That maybe is going to happen soon. But thank you again for being here, and I look forward to the success Tom Brown's will have here in Huntsville and Madison and all across the Northeast Alabama for years to come.
Thank you. So fun.